So we did have a few farms that were actually feeding this to their cows, and this is probably one of the more important points of it, that compared to wheat straw, you do have lower potassium in this. And why is that important? Lower potassium plays with the basically the biological makeup of the cow in that dry period, where it will reduce that occurrence of milk fever. So milk fever is basically when they have a big drop in calcium as soon as they start lactating. So this potassium allows for that to balance out. So if you have a lower potassium, there's less of a chance of having milk fever. This is from Ryan Brink's farm. He had fall harvested switchgrass, and he'd actually gone out and tested it and saw that it was a 0.8% compared to the 2% with the wheat straw. So I think we do need to have some more testing done on that, because wheat straw can also have this 0.8% or downwards of that, but it does fluctuate. So I think we need to have some more information in terms of how the potassium is acting in switchgrass. And manure didn't look anything different than otherwise. So London Dairy was also using this part of their dry cow and replacement ration. So what's the purpose of this? Purpose of this is to not overcondition your cows. So you're trying to reduce the energy that you're putting in, but still allowing them to feel full at the end of the day and satisfied with what they're eating. So they had this mixed with straw. And what they noted is that the uniformity was key here. So it was very critical that you actually use the hay buster before putting in this TMR mixer, and that helps reduce your time with the TMR mixer as well too, in order to make sure that those chop lengths are the appropriate size and the cows aren't sorting them out. So you're testing, they tested this for the quality of the forage before they actually used it. So they wanted to make sure that was comparable to wheat straw before they were putting it into the ration. So here's some considerations, and I think this got brought up earlier as well too. We really need to consider what varieties and what your end use is for the switchgrass or Macranthus on your farm. As you can see, there's a lot of variation in terms of the composition of the switchgrass, of what I'm learning here today as well too. And the varieties can offer different standpoints with that. So whether you're using it for bedding or for ration, you want to make sure you make that distinguishing before you purchase, I guess. You also want to consider harvest date. So when you're buying switchgrass, consider when the harvest date is. Make sure that you do test it before its use. Chop length is something that we'll probably have to look more into in terms of finding the appropriate chop lengths for the whether you're feeding it or whether you're bedding with it, and the ease of use. So how does it fit into your dairy operation? So does it fit in with your current equipment that you have? A majority of this would be spread by skid steer. So you want to make sure that you have a proper storage area. If you don't have proper storage area, how are you going to deal with that? So to date, we have some pilot studies on dairy farms, and if we do know of any dairy farms that are using this, it would be of interest to us to hear anecdotally how it's going for them. And interestingly enough, I saw in the Dairy Cluster 2 project is that they did have, they had funded some switchgrass and switchgrass lime. So lime is also used in the dairy industry quite prominently for organic dairy farms as an alternative bedding source. So it is moving forward. And we are seeing some more research out of the states as well too, in the University of Delaware and the University of Kentucky on this side as well too.